We are going to be exploring the city in the valley. A city that can be anything. The map of the place changes, the themes of the place change, who lives there and what story you're going to tell always changes and can be anything that you desire. But the one thing that stays the same is you don't want to be poor here. That is the base idea of the game that we are going to be talking about today on the RPG Goblin, called Neon Shadows. Now, this is a game that recently went to Kickstarter and unfortunately failed, but because of the love the creators have for this game, it is still going to be seeing a full release on itch, and I can't wait for it because I'm still amazed by how interesting this game is and the mechanics that they use, such as the dice system, which actually isn't dice, but playing cards, and the way that you can tell really any story, any kind of world that you want, but all that stays the same is the base setting of the city in the valley. It is so very cool, and to talk about this game, we have on Squidsy, one of the creators of Neon Shadows, and we dive deep into what Neon Shadows is all about. So if that sounds like a great time to you and you're ready to dive into this game, let's get into it. Welcome, everyone, to the RPG Goblin, a TTRPG podcast that makes learning and exploring TTRPGs fun and easy for you. I am your host, Willow, and I am the resident goblin and the one who asks all the questions because I love these games and I really like talking to people, too. I just talk a lot. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about a game called Neon Shadows, which I'm super, super excited about, especially the fact that they use playing cards as like the core mechanic in this game, which is really, really cool, especially since I grew up learning card games, so this is amazing. And to talk about this game, I brought on Squidsy, one of the creators of Neon Shadows. And so, Squidsy, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone and what you do and where people can find you?
Sure. So, I'm Squidsy, and I am I always get this backwards, partnering director, there we go, of Lost Guide Games. I'm pretty much the face. You see me all over the social medias, whether it be on Twitter at Corrosive Squid or at Lost Guide Games. I also run the Blue Sky, Lost Guide Games, Mastodon, Lost Guide Games, things like that. That's all me behind the compass. I am one of the main tabletop designers as well. Neon Shadows is a huge undertaking for all of us. We also have Grimm, who is one of the lead designers. He's working on a solo to duo game that comes as a set. That's really exciting. I'm so excited to see what he does with that. He's kind of my mechanics goblin.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, he's my mechanics goblin. And then we've got other wonderful people. We've got Mimi Riley, who has made a couple of games with us. She focuses on a lot of horror. And we've got in-house artists, Fluffy, Fatality. It's a wonderful little group that we've got of friends that we were like, hey, let's all create tabletops together.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that so much. And so you all just get to nerd out and create games? Perfect job.
Pretty much. It started as a 4 a.m. idea between Grimm and I. We've been best friends for 12 years now. And he was like, you know what? Do you think we could write our own? And I was like, you know what? I wonder if we could write our own. And lo and behold, a year and a half later, here we are.
Yay, that's amazing. And so actually, I'm curious, is Neon Shadows the first game that you have at least written, or have you written other ones before that?
We've written other ones before that. We have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Ooh.
11.
It keeps getting better the more you count.
Behind Neon Shadows. Our first game was and it's not released. It will eventually be released. It's not released yet, but it was a cyberpunk game that Grimm and I got way, way too in over our heads on.
Oh no.
But it's pretty much written and it's almost ready to go. It needs a lot of work, but it's like playable.
That's so fun. It stays in the shadows for now, apparently.
It does. It does. It will eventually be written. Eventually it will be finished. But we decided to take a step back and go smaller with a Caltrop core game for the Caltrop core jam, and it kind of just took off from there. And now we're here with Neon Shadows, which is definitely our biggest undertaking.
Yeah, for sure. And how many of the Caltrop games have you done? Because I know I have one of them. It's the Magical Girl one that is really, really cute. And I was actually reading through it today because it's adorable.
Cute. We actually have two kind of magical. We have two Caltrop core.
Mhm.
So it started. Can we curse on this podcast?
Oh, yeah, you're fine.
Okay. So the first one is called Fuck Fairy Godmothers,
Oh,
and it's about fighting against the social norms.
I love that.
We made the fairy godmother this eldritch being who the fairy godmother ending would be like the perfect ending, the white picket fence and Prince Charming. And God, that's boring. Who wants
Mhm.
that?
This sounds
Um,
so good.
so it's about fighting against the social norms that is the American dream or whatever you want to call it. And then it's hard being a magical girl, especially when you're in school.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the one that I got.
That was so funny. I was writing it up. It started as a idea from Thought Punk. He
Mhm.
put out an idea on Twitter, and I was like, you know what? I could make this into a game. He goes, please make this into a game. So I did. And I sent all the playbooks. I sent out the playbooks to Lost Guide Games, the rest of the team, and I went, okay, guys, assign yourselves accordingly. And everybody assigned themselves like a magical girl type,
Oh my
including my
gosh,
boys.
that's so good.
And so Fluffy did all the art for that one, and so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
He just
bet it's
whipped up
adorable.
everybody.
It's so cute. I love the art in it. It's just like it's also really colorful and I love the like textbook vibe it has too. Super, super cute. Absolutely
Appreciate
obsessed.
that.
Yeah, I sent it to my boyfriend. I'm like, "Hey, we should do this. We should play this sometime." Since we recently did a game of Glitter Hearts and Magical Girls are just on the brain right now.
I saw that you did a game of Glitter Hearts.
It's so good. It's a great system and it was so much fun for everyone to just create their own little magical personas and people. It was amazing. But
It's so fun.
yeah, it is. And as much as I want to get off topic because God, I love talking about these games, we should probably talk about Neon Shadows. Uh,
Maybe, maybe.
maybe, possibly, just a little bit. But yeah, so I think the first question that's the best one to start off with is how would you explain Neon Shadows to someone who knows nothing about it?
So Neon Shadows is an aetherpunk aesthetic game that revolves around a city called that we called we're so creative, the city in the valley. Think Bossing Say meets Minas Tirith.
Ooh,
So
interesting.
from the once you get closer, the valley is like a triangle, and so when you
Mhm,
get to the inner part of the valley, that's where you've got your sun courts, which is basically like your 1%.
mhm,
It's the lawmakers' ground. They make all the decisions, but they have no idea what life is like outside of their own walls.
mhm. Ooh, yeah,
Um,
I can see where
very
the influence comes from.
Yeah, very gilded, very pretty, very yeah. And then
Mhm,
a step below that, you've got the Moonlights, who those are your scientists, your Aether Weavers, things like that. The whole city is run on Aether, which is something that's brought up from the Earth. Think like materia, like in Final Fantasy VII.
actually, I'm not
And
familiar with Final Fantasy.
oh, okay, that's fine. It's basically a material that comes from the Earth and that powers the whole city. There is no electricity. There is Aether.
Okay, very, very cool.
And then from there, you go down in of course, class. You've got the Moonlights, who are your scientists, the Cloud Tops, which is your middle class, your teachers, guards, social services, things like that. And then you've got
Mhm,
Forgers Alley, which are your harder blue collar workers. They're the ones who actually forge the machines.
mhm.
And then you've got the Rest Rivers, which are your farmers, your biggest group, and they're completely outside of the walls.
Oh wow, that sounds so cool. I love this setting.
So it centers around the city and the valley, and it uses the 9 Enneagrams as your playbooks. So every playbook is based on one of the 9 Enneagrams, from the Passionate Protector, which is your type 8, to
Mhm.
your peaceful negotiator, which is your type 9, your nurturing supporter, your type 2, things like that.
That's so
And
cool.
yeah, it's a group of outcasts just trying to make a change. It's narrative based, which means
Mhm,
there is no set story, there is no set anything. There's a history.
mhm.
How did we get here? And then from there, it's your story, whatever story you want to tell, and what story will you tell?
I love that. I love having just either a base setting or something where it's just very loose and you can tell your own story. You're not following anything specific. I adore that so much. And that setting is so freaking cool too.
Thank you.
And actually, I'm curious, why did you go with the Enneagrams for the playbooks?
So it actually started as a joke. I'm a mental health professional. That is my day job. That's what I do.
Hmm.
And so I was sitting there and I was thinking, I was working on some stuff. I was doing some research on things. And I went, you know what? I bet you can make characters based on the 9 Enneagrams. I was totally joking, totally kidding when I approached that thought and sent it out to the rest of Lost Guide Games. And then Grimm, who is also a therapeutic game master, he was like, you know what? You probably could. And then everybody went, huh, what is that? Went and took the test, figured out their Enneagram types, and I was like, all right, well, here we go. And lo and behold, here we are with Beyond Shadows.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. I mean, take your experiences from real life, take the things that you see and learn about and bring it into games. Absolutely.
And it makes for good character creation too, because then you're able to, in each of the playbooks, I'll just pull up type 2 because I'm a type 2, and so I use
Mhm.
type 2 a lot. But each of the playbooks, as in the Enneagrams, it talks about like growth and stress into the different types. Like 2 breaks off into 4 and 8, and 1 breaks
Mhm.
off into this and that. And so we use that for actual character development.
Mhm.
Um, so for like a type 2, if you meet certain requirements, it's for all of them. If you meet these specific requirements, you can stabilize into a totally different type in which you take items. So for the nurturing supporter, it's if you stabilize, it's like pick a new item to describe your look from the introspective individualist, which is a completely different playbook.
Mhm.
Or if you go the other way, um, uh, pick an item that tells the story of from the passionate protector, which is the type 8, which is a totally different playbook. So it
Yeah, that's
allows
really
this
cool.
mix and match.
Hmm. That's really, really neat. And so, man, and so how does character creation work then? Does it depend on, I guess people could take the test themselves and pick their playbooks that match them because that would be really fun. But is there a specific way that you recommend people pick things, or how does the character creation work?
So I'm currently playing my own type in our actual play,
Hmm.
and so is Grimm for that matter, because we decided to hurt ourselves. It's actually really emotionally painful to play your own type.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's a lot. But I've also played a type 9 in a playtest. I have been able to play a type 1 in an example.
Hmm.
And so it really is what resonates with you. If you don't want to play your type, you don't want to take the test, you don't even give a shit about the Enneagrams, that's fine. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. Pick whichever one goes with you. As for how to create your characters, it is a playbook style.
Hmm.
If you've ever played any kind of belonging outside belonging game,
I have not. I've actually haven't heard of that system.
so it's a fantastic system. No dice, no masters.
Hmm.
Um, it is what Wanderhome is built on. It is
Oh,
what
I see. I gotcha.
yeah. It's that's a one that people tend to know, and it's based on the playbooks on there. So you answer
Hmm.
questions.
Okay.
So every playbook has their own desire.
Hmm.
For type 2, the desire is to be loved by others, especially as much as they love others.
Oh, yeah. I can already see where it can be devastating.
Oh yeah. And so you pick 2. The love you have is genuine, empathetic, or consuming. You pick 2. You often struggle with, and then you pick 1 out of this
Hmm.
list.
Oh man, I love that. That's
And
really
then
good.
it gets into the dice system. Every the card system we have. Every playbook has their own neat little things they can do with the cards, and then it
Mhm.
goes choose 3 that you show to others and 2 that show the true you. You've got a list.
Mhm.
Um, and then you've got specific questions for that type. So, what are 2 ways you show your love for people, and what is 1 way that destroyed you?
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then it's got relationship building questions. So you ask
Mhm.
1 to the person on your left, and then you've got another list of questions that you ask to the person on your right.
That's really good. I like this approach. I mean, I've heard about Wanderhome and I've read through some Wanderhome, but I didn't like know that there were other games that use this system. And so taking that out of Wanderhome and bringing it into something else and making the questions like devastating, apparently, uh, is amazing. This is really, really cool.
Thank you. Belonging outside belonging is a great system. That's what we built this on to begin with. That's kind
Hmm.
of the all of the belonging outside the belonging games. They have this playbook style where you ask questions.
Hmm.
And in a lot of the games that we've created, especially the ones that I've headed, you see those questions. It's Hard Being a Magical Girl also has questions like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I noticed that.
In the Far Reaches and On the Earth Below, which are my Guided by the Sun games that we created,
Hmm.
they also ask questions.
I love that. I think that's a really fun way to have character creation where you're asking these questions and you're answering questions from other people because that's such a fun way to start building up some relationships and a good way to start developing a character in your head versus I just decide, oh, I'm a barbarian and I'm an elf barbarian. Like,
Absolutely. And it allows for like a degree of separation too.
hmm.
So while I might have like you and Grimm on one side of me, to my left and my right,
Hmm.
you're going to have a totally different person on the opposite hand. And so
Hmm.
it allows for a degree of separation. Hey, I've heard of you before from so and so, but I've never actually met you before.
Yeah. I like that too, where it's the different connections and relationships between the characters. Absolutely adore that. And so, how have you find as you've been running an actual play and play testing and stuff? How do people enjoy these relationship building questions? And I mean these questions in general.
A lot of people like them.
Hmm.
We are actually the actual play we're doing, while we do have these questions, we also made a conscious effort that just because I ask you these questions on my left or on my right doesn't mean you know me very well.
Hmm.
So I've got Grimm's character on one side of me and another one of our creators, Glass, he's on the other side of me. And so like Grimm's character knows a little bit more about me than Glass's character.
Hmm.
Um, Simply because of the characters that they've created and the type of relationship that my character would have with those types.
I like that. That's really good. Because it doesn't have to be a one all be all. Like it's not like oh we directly know each other or we have this very close relationship.
Right? Like we're best friends.
Yeah. We're
And
besties.
even still if you wanted to, I think it'd be really fun. I haven't done this before, but it'd be really fun if the person on your left was like your rival
Hmm. Oh
or
yeah.
your worst enemy that happens to know something about you, because if you have an enemy, they're going to know things about you.
Oh, for sure. Oh, I love that. That would be so fun. Make those complicated relationships. Make those juicy roleplay moments.
Right, right. Hell yeah.
I love that. And actually, that does bring up a question. What kinds of stories is Neon Shadow best at telling? Like, I'm curious.
So, obvious one, especially with the socioeconomic struggles that it does hit. I mean, that's the thing with Neon Shadows. We were talking about it. I was like, you could be anything you want. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter who you love, who you are, where you came from. That's fine. Just
Yep.
don't be poor.
Just don't be poor.
And because it hits on those socioeconomic struggles.
Hmm.
And so, of course, the big one would be to overthrow, change the world. You've got your outcasts against the big against the big like 1% corporation type situation.
Hmm.
You also have a really good story there with um, environmentalism, solar
Hmm.
punk type thing where aether is a mineral that you are mining from the earth, and God knows how devastating that is.
Yeah.
And so you've
I
also
love
got
that.
that solar punk aspect there that you could tell. But one of the things we're doing, because we realize not everybody is comfortable in a narrative situation where you have zero direction,
Hmm.
we've also created what's called playable journals. And what
Ooh.
these playable journals are is they are a framework for a story that you build. It is a how did we get here?
Hmm.
Because in Neon Shadows, you do have a how did we get here? How did we get to the city and the valley? But other than that, you don't have anything else.
Hmm.
Um, and you have no NPCs. You have to build those on your own. And for the map, you actually build the map too.
Oh, I love that.
It's a blank map that is included with all the districts, and you pick the people are, what are the rumors, what are your conflicts, what is your belief, and then build your
Ooh.
landmarks. Where's everybody's house at? What important landmarks do you want?
Hmm.
Are there going to be any that you come across way
Hmm.
later down the road?
I'm obsessed with that. I, I
So
mean, I am one who loves collaborative character creation and world building. And so like that being, in the game where you are building up that map together, absolutely amazing.
thank you. It's a super core part of it, but we understand that not everybody's comfortable with that. That is
Hmm.
a lot. So these playable journals offer a more framework. How do we get here?
Hmm.
One that's offered in the Ashcan is called Assassins in the Sun.
Love it.
And the how did we get here is the story so far is basically a Assassins in the Sun is that you and your group have been hired by the Sun Courts to find the assassin that may or may not be lurking around the courts killing people.
Ooh.
Instinctual fear kicks in when you see danger and don't recognize it. Something is happening, but nobody can find this guy. He blends in too well with the crowd. You have been hired to find him.
Ooh, that sounds really, really cool.
And so you've got a how did we get here? And
Mhm.
then you've got 5 NPCs that are already built for you that are important to the story.
Love
So
that.
in Assassins in the Sun, you have Keela Stonemore, who is a librarian. She's witty, shallow, and enchanting to others in the district. She's studied on the history of the kingdom. She knows the War of the Five, forwards and
Mhm.
backwards. Um, and then you've got like Bella Crow, who is this witty, unique, and stubborn student from Forger's Alley who has this real penchant for getting themselves in a lot of trouble with the wrong crowd. And she's
That's so
currently being
good.
held top suspect.
This is like really, really fun like scenarios, and in the way of even like I love the description being put into the NPCs too.
Yeah, and it helps bring a framework. And
Hmm.
then you've got your districts that are all built, a map that is all filled out, that of course, please, please, please add to it. That's why it's there. But there is no like end goal. In Assassins
Hmm.
in the Sun, the question is the people are tired because there's a bunch of uprisings. The Sun Courts are afraid, and what side are you going to take? Are
Hmm.
the people's voices going to be louder than money, or is money going to talk?
Yeah, no, I like that. There are a lot of really neat stories that you can tell in this game. I love it.
Yeah, and there's Beasts in the Mines, which is more of a horror-based one. The Lights in the Mountain, which is more of just a weird one. We actually just did a community-built one.
Hmm.
That was wild. I just had to somehow put that into something a little more cohesive. Um, but it was wild, and they made it weird. It is a
Uh-huh.
very weird, um, weird science, weird, so hard to describe. Some of the things they came up with, there's some wild rumors. So like some of the rumors are maybe there's vampires in the Sun Courts. Or no, there's
Oh,
vampires in the Moonlights. The Sun
oh, of
Courts are
course.
cannibals.
Oh.
But then they created this NPC called where are they? Francine Silvergrin, who is this entertainer and rabble rouser who is just intent on tearing down the system and getting rich while do it. They're known for twisting information and turning it into believable and amusing stories. So who knows if these rumors are true?
Oh my God.
Um, but yeah,
That's
they
so
got
good.
wild.
And that one's like, is that that is one that's going to be included?
That is one I actually just finished it up. I'm waiting on a couple of things. The map is done, and that one is going to be released for free because it was community built.
Oh, that is fantastic. Oh, I want to play through that.
And it's weird. It's the whole idea is that the aether pollution from the refining of aether has brought these storms that have gotten increasingly more violent. Well, this last one was really strange and caused this ripple in almost the fabric of reality.
Naturally.
So it's like a mirrored realm where the Rust River is the gray area where all these weird things are happening.
Ooh, that's
And
fun.
it focuses on the clashing of two beliefs. The main
Mhm.
belief of the city and the valley, which is the teachings of Solaria. And now here's this new one, and people are going, wait, we don't have to we don't have to stay where we're at because whomever decided we need to stay where we're at, we could believe in something else.
Oh, wow.
And this something else is here and it's real and I can touch it.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
yeah,
really cool.
they did a good job. It's a lot of duality, a lot of mirrored worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's weird. There might be werewolves. Maybe there's a strange NPC named Tim who's a goat herder.
Him,
His name is
Justice for
Tim.
Tim. Love Tim. Obsessed.
So you could tell some really, really weird ones also.
Mm-hmm.
It all
Seems
just depends on your group.
Yeah, so many different possibilities. I think that is fan freaking tastic. That is amazing. But it's all kind of set within this default world that's
This
already
city in the valley.
yeah. And so like it's still going to be like familiar every time, but you can just change it ever so slightly. So you could play through this multiple times and have multiple different versions of this city.
Yep. We're actually another one we're doing. I whenever I do streaming, because I stream on Twitch, I have an uwu bot that will take what chat is saying and uwufy it.
That's so good.
And it's taken we have like check out our Kickstarter Neon Shadows. It's taken it multiple times and it's turned it into neon shadows, like almost like Neon Cat.
Oh, neon.
And so we were laughing and joking, and so we're actually going to be making a playable journal called Neon Shad Meows, where you play as cats.
That's so good.
Oh, we just about fell apart.
That's amazing. Yes. Just yes. You see a perfect opportunity right there. It's like, yep, I know what I'm doing with my life. I am making neon shadows.
Shad Meows,
Shadow meows.
where you all play as cats.
So good. Actually, that makes me curious. When it comes to like the people that you do play in this game, is there any like limits? Is it supposed to be more of like a human type thing? Could you play animals with how the game is, or is it just up to whatever world you create?
Honestly, it's up to whatever world you create. When we created it, we wanted something that was fantasy, but we didn't want fantasy. You know, you've got
Mhm.
Pathfinder, you've got the Dragon game, you've got a million and a half things that
Mhm.
fall into fantasy. So we did want something that didn't so much fall into fantasy, but still had those fantasy elements, and that's where Aetherpunk came into play.
Mhm.
The Aether core kind of idea. So if you wanted to play an elf, you play an elf. If you want to play a dwarf, play a dwarf.
If you
Is it
want to be a
written in the
vampire?
If you want to be a vampire, be a vampire. Is it written in the book? No. Our
Mhm.
book is we decided, especially with everything going on, and our own beliefs, we decided to leave race completely out of the book.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And just that also gives it more freedom for people to play around with their own settings too.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love that. And that does make me curious, just because, there is like, I guess, fantasy elements, since even the Aetherpunk stuff, that being a fantasy type thing too. Um, is there magic in this game of some sorts?
So while there is no magic system, magic is hinted at.
Hmm.
You have what's called Aether Weavers, and these are people who you find them in the moonlights. They
Hmm.
are able to take they're able to take Aether and at the core of what Aether is and turn it into these fantastical creations of whatever they want.
That's really cool.
You could go very sci-fi-y with it, with holograms and airships
Hmm.
and all this really cool stuff. In fact, in the community built playable journal, one of them was that an asteroid fell to Earth and they found Aether in the asteroid, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Ooh.
Um, or you could. It is hinted that there is magic with the Aether Weavers being able to take the element of Aether and at the core of what it is and weave it into whatever they want.
That's so cool. And again, it leaves so much open for interpretation too. So it still leaves it so much on whoever's playing it, to decide how they want to interpret. I love that. And then obviously, if they want to do the journals instead and do those where they don't have to create the world, it still depends on what journal you choose, how they interpret even the magic and stuff, or the potential of magic.
Yep. And it's even, how they interpret the story, like Assassins in the Sun. If you want to get rich and be praised among the Sun Courts, then go find the assassin and turn him in. If you want to listen to the people's voices, there you go. You know what you got to do.
Yeah. You can do it. Amazing. I love this so much. And so when it does come to the game itself, since we've been talking a lot about the setting and I adore it, but with the game itself, I'd like to start talking a bit about the mechanics, especially the use of cards.
Sure.
How do those work?
So I have to really give credit to Grimm. Like I said, Grimm is my mechanics goblin. He's been in tabletop for years now. So he knows a lot of these systems inside and out. And so when we were trying to figure out, okay, I like my games personally, not crunchy. I am very mechanics light, narrative based game system.
Love it.
Whenever I went through training to become a therapeutic GM, we played a game called Fall of Magic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've never played Fall of Magic, I would highly recommend Fall of Magic to anyone.
Fall of Magic, putting this on my list now.
By Deercorn. It changed my whole worldview because I had experience with Pathfinder, I had experience with D&D, I had experience with these very basic, what I would consider middle of the road crunchy games.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we played Fall of Magic and there was no dice rolling and it was just storytelling, my whole world changed.
That's amazing.
And so I am 100%. I was like, if we want to just do straight belonging, outside belonging, no dice, no masters, I am 100% down to have zero mechanics in this game. Totally okay with that. Grimm
Make
likes
it
his games
pure storytelling.
Exactly. Grimm likes his games a little crunchier, and so we were like, okay, let's kick around some ideas. Let's figure out what we can do. He came up with a system. He thinks he's real clever for this, but he kind of is. I have to give him some credit. He came up with a system that we call the dice system. It has no dice. It is just cards. But it stands for Deck of Influences, Consequences, and Expressions. So the dice system. Yeah, that he came to me with that name and I went, "Oh, that's beautiful."
Absolutely.
So the dice system, jokers are optional. These cards act as both tokens for the character development, as well as help pushing the game forward and creating character bonds. So the way the Enneagrams work, it made it really kind of neat and easy to fit cards to the Enneagrams. When you look at the 9 Enneagrams, each of those 9 are grouped into three groups of 3. You have your Enneagrams that are called the body types, which are your more physical types. You have the Enneagrams, which are called your hearts, your heart types. Those are your more emotional. And then you have ones that are called the mind type, which are your more logic.
Okay.
So it made it very, very easy to look at a deck of cards and the 4 suits on cards and go, hey, clubs for physical, hearts for intuitive and your emotional plays, and then diamonds for your logical plays.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we went, okay, well, what do we do with this 4th one? And we decided to make it fate. It's chance. So the way it works is you can try and solve anything you want in any direction you want. If you want to try and be charming or emotional, play a heart. If you want to be more intimidating or physical oriented, you play a club. If you want to be more factual and more knowledgeable and you want to try and sway to fact, you play a diamond. And it works like a game of war. So you and I are playing, we've got something going on. I always use House on Fire just because it's so easy. House is on fire, and I'm saying, oh my gosh, we have to go in and save these people. These people are in so much danger. We've got to go in and save these people. And you're coming at me and you're going, no, that's first off dangerous. We have no idea how this fire started or where it started. We have no idea how long it's been blazing. We need to wait for the professionals. So now we are at a standstill. We are at a disagreement.
Yes.
So we're going to play cards. I, of course, am going to play a hearts. You might play a diamond to go more logic, or you might actually play a club to try and physically intimidate me, or physically block my way. And we put our cards down. High card wins.
Okay. So how do you get the cards in the first, like, it's like a game of war, but how many cards do you have? I guess how do you deal them?
5. You just deal 5 standard cards,
Okay.
shuffle the deck, deal 5 cards. Um,
And you're able to look at them.
oh yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. Yep, that is your hand. So
Okay.
you get to choose how you're going to approach a disagreement or a situation.
All right, I see. So it's like partially luck of the draw of what you actually get in your hand and how you can solve things on top of how you then want to solve things, and you can make that informed decision.
Exactly. And just because, like, let's say I win to go save the people doesn't mean you have to get pulled along with me. It just means I get to go do that. I'm
Mhm.
now in control. I am now what's called taking narrative control, which means I am going to
Oh,
run in. You can choose if you want to or not, but I'm going to. And vice versa. If you win, you have narrative control, which means we are waiting for the professionals.
I like that. Yeah, and so it's just more of a control thing. More
Yep.
of who gets to kind of narrate that story and push it forward to the next step. That's really fun. I like that. I like that system a lot.
Thank you. And then when it comes to the spades, when it comes to the fate, you could play that at any time.
Hmm.
At any time. It doesn't matter. We could be taking a leisurely stroll through the gardens, or we could be frantic and caught up in something.
Hmm.
You could play a fate card whenever you want.
And what does the fate do?
Fate comes around and throws a wrench in the mix. Um, when a spade is played, you look at what's called the fate table. And there is a fate table, and then each playable journal will have their own fate table just to make it a little more personalized in that. Or you can come up with your own thing. That's fine too. Um, One of the examples was we were doing a playtest, and we had just come out of a very okay, well, let me rephrase that. Grimm came out of a very important Moonlight's scientist meeting. We caused havoc at a bar, but we we came out and he's like, we've got to get out of the Sun Quartz area. There's rumors
Mhm.
of a riot starting. He's like panicking that we have to get out. Leia from Slay the Stars, who's doing this playtest with us, who's also
Mhm.
actually in the actual play,
Mhm.
dead ass went, so about that, threw down a spades, and it was the sirens go off, filling the air with their loud blare as a threat looms overhead. She plays it, which means now she has narrative control, because if you play spades, you have narrative control.
Mhm.
And she goes, the riots have started, and that's why the sirens are going off.
Oh my god. That's so good. I love it. Embrace the complications. Embrace.
Much. That's what it does. It throws a complication.
That's so good. And I love that as well because I think a lot of people are scared of complications or failures or like negative things happening in games sometimes. But like when you leave it completely up to people to just storytell, yeah, they're gonna like do whatever they want. They're going to ruin your life and make their own complications to get
And it's
through.
and it's a lot of fun because either you could throw down a spade or you could say, like, I think this is happening alongside what we're trying to do, and that could actually throw a complication in also. But
Hmm.
if you just want a random, hey, let's just see what happens,
Yeah.
you throw down a spade. Um and spades trump everything. So let's say we were having a disagreement about, I don't know, the fire.
Hmm.
And a third party comes in and goes, well, so I know we've got this fire that we're trying to deal with, but also, and throws down a spade card. Um, well, now all of a sudden there's unknown panic filling the streets, and the people are beginning to run, and it's causing a lot of chaos. People might get trampled. So now not only do we have this fire we're arguing about, but now there's this panic that has decided to fill the streets.
Oh no.
So it adds to whatever's going on.
I love that. And it's just put it forward even more. That's really what they're tools for. It's just keeping the story going.
Exactly. And you choose whatever you want to do as part of this system. And
Hmm.
like for NPCs, you pull from the top of the deck. So it really is by chance. No one knows what that card is about to be. No one knows. And then on top of that, every playbook has, so there's things that you can do with this system.
Hmm.
It's 6. There are 6 things that help both move the story forward and build character bonds.
Hmm.
So every playbook has a trump scenario. You can play certain cards in different situations to be the end all.
Hmm.
For type two, that would be hearts in physical plays to bring empathy to the situation. So any
Ooh.
physical play that is happening, if somebody is playing a physical play, trying to intimidate somebody else, intimidate me, um, smash in a wall, whatever, I can use hearts to then trump that situation, take that narrative control and go, look, and bring emotion and bring sympathy and empathy to the situation.
That's really, really good. I like that a lot. And can I also say when I was reading through I can't remember if it was the Ash Can or the one that you sent me. It was one of them. Uh, when I was reading through that and I saw the Trump being used for the cards, it made my heart happy because I've grown up playing euchre and like it's a huge
Okay.
thing in my family. And so that's a common term that's used. And when I talk to other people about cards, they don't understand what I say when I say Trump. And so hearing that makes me just very happy.
I love that. A lot of us grew up playing like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh!
Mhm.
And Pokemon and things like that.
That's so good. I love it. And I love just the use of cards too. Like instead of dice, because I mean, most role playing games use dice. They're fun. I love dice. I have a million of them. But like bringing in cards just adds an extra fun element. It's a new mechanic. It makes you think of different things. And then the way that you are using them in this game is amazing too. So I just think this is the coolest thing.
Thank you. And it makes it more accessible too. I mean, I love dice. Love
Mhm.
them. I am also a shiny click-clack math goblin. I love dice. Um, However, not everybody has the means or is in the area to be able to go get a full set of gaming dice.
Mhm.
However, you can go down to the dollar store and buy a deck of cards for $1.
Yeah. Cards are so easy to get and like and that's the thing as well when it does come to games. I always think that games such as Powered by the Apocalypse games that use D6s or anything that uses D6s are always going to be the most accessible because it's so easy to get D6s when they come with like most board games and things like that. And the same idea, yeah, applies with cards. Those are so easy to just get at the like convenience store even.
And most people already have them.
Mhm.
Most people already have them. And then the other card, circling real quick to the other kind of card mechanics there. The others are meant to um, build character relations. So you can trade cards, you
Mhm.
can give people
Ooh.
cards, you can draw cards from the deck, you cycle cards. So what that means is you discard whatever amount is written, and then you draw up that amount, and then you
Okay.
discard. Um, for example, a type 2 is um offer to comfort someone. And it's always offer to comfort somebody. It's never you can do this and you
Mhm.
can always do this. It is you can offer to comfort somebody. If they accept your comfort, trade cards.
I love that.
Trade one card. That doesn't mean that means they don't have to accept. Somebody can
Mhm.
be in a panic and just want their character to stay in that panic.
I like that. And so that still gives the players, agency and control of their character's actions.
Yep, and it comes down to the idea um getting into this is kind of a lens behind definitely Grimm and I and kind of the rest of Lost Guide games is you can't save everybody. You can't help everybody, especially if they don't want to be helped.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always if they accept.
I love it.
Draw a
Really,
card when
really
you
good.
accept someone's compliment or praise. You don't have to accept anybody's compliment or praise, but when you do, there's a reward.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And so it does it does reward pushing things forward and being able to heal and such, but it's not mandatory.
Yep.
So good. I love that.
Thank you. He, like I said, whenever Grimm approached me about the card idea, I was like, all right.
We'll see.
And it works. It worked really well because he was like, "No, listen. If the enneagrams are divided up into three groups of three, and this is that, we could do it this way." And I was like, "Actually, it's really not a bad idea. Let's go."
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. And I love that, it's pushing bounds too. Like what can we do? What's this interesting thing where we can add crunch to this system that's pretty much just storytelling. I adore it.
Thank you.
And so I'm curious in Neon Shadows, is there a way to level up characters or have character progression?
Yep. And that would be your development. So you've got stabilization and disruption, and neither of them are good nor bad. We started off with growth and stress because that's just your commonly used words.
Hmm.
Until we started to realize through playtesting that stress is seen as a bad thing.
Hmm.
We don't want it to be a bad thing.
Hmm.
It's just the way you've developed that character. So we went with stabilization and disruption.
I like it.
And like I said, it plays back into the Enneagrams and the way they work. It plays into what does an Enneagram grow into and what does it stress into? Or what does it stabilize into and what does it disrupt into?
Okay, yeah,
And that
I like
allowed
that.
us, yeah, and that allowed us to do these different things. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 unique ones. And at the end of the session, depending on your type, you have a what is the word I'm looking for? Condition with the cards that you have in your hand. So I went ahead and pulled up type 8. Grimm's actually a type 8, so I pulled up his because he's one of the main designers on this one too. Um,
Gotta rep everyone.
oh yeah. When you end the session with cards from at least 3 different suits in your hand, you've learned to accept the viewpoints of others. You've stabilized.
Ooh.
So as long as you have a heart, spade, diamond, or spade, club, diamond, or something,
Hmm.
you can do stabilize. When you end the session with only cards of 2 suits or less in your hand, so if you have all diamonds or all spades or only spades and hearts,
Hmm.
you disrupt.
That's really fun. And so is that a choice that like this is an opportunity that you can do it, or is it something that just automatically happens?
It's something that automatically happens at the end of session. You look at your hand and then you decide from there. The thing is none of this is secretive. So
Hmm.
if you read through Neon Shadows, everybody will know what it takes for you to stabilize or for you to disrupt.
Yeah.
So the way you trade, the way you give cards, the way you, yeah, basically trade and give are the big two. You are helping somebody either stabilize or disrupt.
I like that. And so there's a lot of collaborative nature there in trying to help people's characters even progress in certain ways.
Yep.
And I like that a lot, actually. That's
Thank
really,
you.
really cool. I'm,
Thank
I'm,
you.
I'm thinking about it a little bit. No, that's really interesting. And as well, when you actually do play in the game, those are resources too. You only have these certain cards, and you don't know what kind of situations may come up and what cards you'll need. And by giving someone a card, could they even potentially use it against you, or quote
Ex-
unquote against you, since
well,
everything's just collaborative.
well, against you is correct because it could be against you. It could
Mhm.
be in a disagreement.
True. Yeah.
Um, and then with those, it's always pick one you've not picked before unless otherwise stated. So there is one where you can resolve a disruption or roll back a stabilization that you've
Ooh,
previously picked. You can use that up to 4 times.
interesting.
And then it's forced into retirement.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, your character is forced into retirement. Um, so you retire either when you're ready to retire your character
Hmm.
or when you've picked all the things that you could possibly pick.
When you've gone through anything, like everything and everything.
Yep, pick one you've not picked before. So let's say stabilization. I've picked all the stabilization.
Hmm.
I've not been able to disrupt, or maybe I disrupted a few times, but I was able to resolve it or roll it back. But I've picked all of the stabilizations.
Yep.
So if I'm a type 8, I've picked all the stabilizations. My retirement is you are able to keep your friends safe. They don't need your guidance or protection anymore, and it's time to find those that need to benefit from how you lead because 8's desire is to lead.
Yeah.
Before you leave them, you have one final thing to give them. What is it?
Oh, that's so sweet.
And then on the flip side of that disruption, I pick all of the disruption ones. I've rolled back some stabilizations. I'm not really interested in keeping any stabilizations, but I picked all of my disruptions.
Hmm.
You need to abandon these people. They won't listen, and they're bound to fail. When you tried to lead them, it ended in failure and hostility. What is it that you wish for them to know to protect them from someone who will try and lead them astray?
Ooh, that's really good.
Yeah. So it's two ways to retire because there is stabilization and disruption. You now also have two possible retirement paths, and your character is then retired. That doesn't mean they're not able to come back as an NPC. That doesn't
Mhm.
mean anything other than they are no longer a playable character. Pick up a new playbook if you wish to continue
Oh,
and create
that's
a new
so
character.
fun. Oh, that's great. And so when with your actual plays and play testing so far, have you reached a point of doing any of the retirement stuff, even just to test it out?
No, we haven't done any of the retirement stuff just to test it out. We've done a lot of the growth and stabilization.
Hmm.
That's been a lot of fun. My character Aspen is a type 2 from the Sun Courts, and she's, I think, both disrupted and stabilized. But we have not reached the point of retirement yet, mainly
Mm.
because nobody wants to retire their character.
I mean, that's that's completely fair. How long have you been playing for?
Not long. I think we've only played 3 sessions.
Hmm.
2 sessions.
Oh yeah, so I would hope that no one would retire after 2 sessions.
Yeah, so we haven't retired yet, but we are. I'm actually really kind of interested to see how the retirement's going to go because you could retire. We could be in the middle of a game, 4 or 5 sessions in. You could be like, you know what? I think this character's time is up. I think they've done what they can. I don't see them going any farther with this group. Let me count up my stabilizations and my disruptions, and whichever one I have the most of will be the retirement I use.
I love that. It just gives that extra bit of freedom because it can feel uh easy in some games to like feel stuck with your character. Like I
Hmm.
brought this character in and this is supposed to be a longer game and I don't want to just stop playing and I love this character, but I don't want to retire at the same time and kind of making it a bit more normal. Like, yeah, no, you can retire your character at any time. Like you're good to go if you'd like to try something else or if you just want to move on.
Yep. Yep. Are you ready to leave the game and leave the table, or are you just ready to leave this character?
Hmm. I love that. And it just gives those options that make people feel more comfortable to make those decisions, which I think is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially I've definitely had some issues recently with people getting to a point where they just don't want to play their character anymore. And in a campaign, long running campaign especially, that's very difficult. So I can just appreciate this a lot right now.
It
Um,
offers closure too, because it's
yeah.
so hard. I have characters that I'm like, man, if only we had been able to finish this campaign, what would their lives have been afterwards?
Hmm.
Especially with, I think Legends and Lattes brought a really big impact on that. It's a beautiful, cozy little fantasy story. If you haven't read it, I will sing Legends and Lattes praises all day. But it's about this orc adventurer who has retired because she's tired and she's hurt and she's injured and can't fight like she used to,
So cute.
who has retired and runs a coffee shop.
I love it. And it's even a fun way to potentially explore the ending for a character from a previous campaign that you just kind of can bring into a different world and give a final goodbye to.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
like that so much.
And
That's so sweet.
and they might come along as NPCs later
Mhm.
on. Maybe they come along as an NPC in a totally different game.
Yeah, and that's also cool too is that they can be NPCs. They're just not gone from the world. And the people, because this is a at least how it seems from how you're talking about it, a GM-less game.
Hmm.
The player and the person who let that character go may bring them back for something. And having that agency to be able to do that is also fantastic.
Yep, because now they've gone and lived their lives, and who knows? Maybe your big, strong type 1 who wanted to change the world is now working in a flower shop.
Oh, cute. I love it. It's just like the fun endings. And so I am curious, how well does Neon Shadows play in a long-term like campaign style? Is it better for that or is it better to do it in one-shots?
I've done both one shots and kind of mid run games, and I definitely like it more as a mid run.
Hey everyone, it is time for the mid-break here, and I hope that you are doing well and that you are also enjoying this episode. If you are, please make sure to give the RPG Goblin a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Letting me know that you enjoy the episode and that you enjoy the podcast really helps keep this show going and means the absolute world to me. And also, if you haven't and you have a bunch of really nerdy friends who have only played D&D or who are interested in TTRPGs but really don't know where to start, please recommend to them this podcast, even if you just want to start getting them into the cult of TTRPGs, or you just want them to listen to a really cool show where we have a lot of fun. Just recommend them this podcast and see if they like it. Getting this show out into the world so that more people get to know what else there is in the TTRPG space other than D&D is really important to me, and I would just appreciate it so much. So yeah, consider doing that. I also want to say that the RPG Goblin Discord server is out. It has been for a few weeks now, and if you want to join a community that is just starting to get built up, that is all about TTRPGs and all of that really cool stuff, then you should absolutely come join the Discord server. It is linked in my link tree, which is on Instagram and Twitter, along in the description of this episode. Or you can also find a link to the Discord server on Twitter, because I've been linking it on a lot of posts. I have a lot of ideas for the Discord server that I'm planning here, and I'm just really, really excited because I want it to be a space that can help people get into TTRPGs even further than just hearing about them. Now, the next episode of the RPG Goblin will be coming out October 20th. And that episode is going to be about the role of the GM. It is a TTRPG topic episode, and it is with Zachariah once again. And we talk about what the role of the GM means when it comes to these games, and basically the different things that you are supposed to do. And it was just a really interesting conversation, and I had an absolute blast with it, and it really changed my perspective going forward on how I look at running my games. So if that sounds like an awesome time to you and you really want to check out that episode, it will be coming out again October 20th. All right, and it is time for the promo now. I know I talk a lot, so yeah. Let's just get to the promo. For today's promo, we have 5 GMs in a Trench Coat, which is a actual play podcast that is about trying a bunch of different systems every season. Right now, they are on their first season, and they are playing Fate Core with a Sky Island dragon writing game. It is really, really cool. It gives How to Train Your Dragon vibes, and I can't recommend it enough. So let's get into the promo.
Hello everyone and welcome to 5 Gyms in a Trench Coat.
Excuse me?
Yeah?
What's that?
You want to know what 5 Gyms in a Trench Coat is? Let us tell you.
It's the adhesive that keeps the fragile pieces of my sanity together.
Well, okay, Jesse, what it actually is a narrative-driven TTRPG actual play where 5 friends take turns weaving stories through the tabletop game of their choice.
Of their choice.
Each season?
Each season.
That's pretty cool.
I disagree.
Oh.
I feel it's the adhesive.
So, like, you guys aren't all in a trench coat?
No, we're definitely in a trench coat.
How does that work?
Get her.
Before I'm caught, you can check out 5 Games in a Trench Coat just about anywhere you get your podcasts, or you can check out our website at 5gamesinatrenchcoat.com. Oh my god, they really are all in a trench coat.
How well does Neon Shadows play in a long-term, like, campaign style? Is it better for that, or is it better to do it in one-shots?
I've done both one-shots and kind of mid-run games, and I definitely like it more as a mid-run to long-run campaign, simply because of the way you can develop your character, because of the way you can work your character in. I mean, yeah, there's 12, I don't know, there's like 7 stabilizations, but if I wanted to, I could cause my character disrupt by trading my correct cards and discarding my correct cards and roll back some of those stabilizations and make them last for 20 sessions.
Yeah. Like, you can make it last if you do need it to. And that's where some of the strategy even comes in.
Yep.
And working together. And, like, yeah, this is kind of the direction I want to go. And it's cool, too, that you can, like, plan as a group, even, like, potential character art and like even strategize around it. That just
Yep.
seems really fun.
Yep. We're big into doing that. I actually got my start in roleplay as a forum role player.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Um,
amazing.
even beyond that, in middle school and high school, I had a friend who we would have a spiral. I have a box just full of these spirals where we would pass them in the hallways back and forth, writing basically roleplay self-insert fan fiction.
That is so. That's so fun.
It's essentially what it was. We took the animes we really liked and made our own fan fiction.
Good for you. That sounds like a great time. Hell yeah.
But that's where I started, and then I jumped into forum-based roleplay, which is where I met Grimm, in a one-piece forum-based roleplay.
Amazing.
And then it went from there, and now I'm in this tabletop world where we actually like roll dice to figure out what we're gonna do. Whereas before it was just, hey, you type it up.
You have to you have to write it all out. Just simple dice. That's it.
Right. I just have to say it.
That's so good. I love that. And so, how do you think even your background of role playing influenced your time in the TTRPG space and your game design?
It definitely makes my games more narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from a forum-based roleplay background, a more collaborative storytelling background, it definitely reflects in the games that I personally either head or created.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Grimm, for example, coming from more of a tabletop background, he like dice, the mechanic we used in Neon Shadows, he likes those mechanics and those crunchy, whereas I'm just like, just give me a good story. Just give me a good story.
Just let me tell a fun tale with my friends.
Pretty much.
I love that. I think that's so interesting to see, and that's why it's so cool to also see more game designers and people creating games, because you're viewing the tabletop medium through so many different perspectives and how they learned about this and how they, having that background in forum role play is much different than going from tabletop role playing games, clearly. And it's just insane to see how different it makes it. And it's just also unique too.
Thank you. And it does definitely make it different. Because we are, I am more focused on setting. Well, what is the setting of the story we're telling? Well, it's set in this valley, which is, there was a big, if you go deeper into Neon Shadows, it's all there, but the lore, there was this big, great, huge war that was between these two warring factors. Well, because of the way they warred, that created two smaller factions, and then Aether was discovered, and that tore the land apart because of how it had to be mined for these weapons. And that's where theocracy steps in, and with treaties, and then we've created the city in the valley to let the land heal. Well, not humans are flawed. Not everybody has good intentions.
That's so good. I love it.
Thank you.
Man, that's just insanely cool.
Thank you.
I'm obsessed with this. This sounds like a freaking blast to play. And it is on, I know at the time of recording, it's on Kickstarter. And unfortunately, I don't think the episode will be coming out before it's over. Before it's over, so that this is upsetting. But do you have any plans, what's going to happen with the Kickstarter? What's going on with that? And how may people have opportunities to get the game in the future?
So, unfortunately, it looks like the Kickstarter is not going to make it. It was bad timing. We totally forgot about Gen Con being in the same month.
Yeah, I experienced the same thing.
Yeah. We totally forgot about Gen Con, but what we did raise gave us a lot of hope that people were very interested in this game. We almost got to 50%. Maybe we'll get to 50% by the end of it. We still have 6 days, but however, that does not make it disappear. It will still be up on itch.io. We're actually talking about what the next steps are in the way of getting it a physical copy, whether we're going to try Kickstarter again in the future, or we're just going to throw our hands in the air and go, you know what? We'll eat the cost. Let's just print it and send it to publishers and see what we can get. But it will always and forever be PDF at the very least on our itch.io, LostGuideGames.itch.io, or itch.io/LostGuideGames, whichever way it is. But it will be there. It'll be up. The Ashcan will stay up until Neon Shadows is actually completely released. And with it, we're very excited. With it, we do have the plans of how many are there. Assassins in the Sun, of course, is the playable journal that comes with the Ashcan. Corroded Prayers is the community-based one that will be released very shortly for free. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other playable journals already written.
I love that.
Well,
That's so
5
many.
already written. 5 already written and 2 in development. I'm writing one called Circus of the Stars.
These sound so cool.
I'm so excited for one of our artists, Fluffy. We were talking about a circus, a traveling, floating aether circus, and he actually drew it up and posted his sketch of it, and I went, "That's it.
Yes.
We're having a circus."
Yes. I've had like this weird thing for a while where I'm like, I really want to play in a campaign where it's a circus. I don't know how it's going to work or anything like that, but I want a circus, like where that's like a big thing. And the fact that you have that exact thing getting written, yes.
You give me something that is circus and magical, and I'm 1,000% about it. I read The Night Circus, which is it has a plot. It has characters. Don't get me wrong, but it's all just vibes.
Yeah.
And the vibes are immaculate.
I need this Night Circus. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's called The Night Circus. Like I said, there is a plot. There are characters. There is like a drive, but the vibes of the setting of The Night Circus, I could get lost in them.
Yes, I think that's so good. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. But I'm so glad to hear though that even though the Kickstarter doesn't seem that it's going to go through, there's at least plans to still have Neon Shadows around and that people can still get it for themselves, because I think that people should get a chance to play this game in its full glory of being like complete. And the idea that there might be physical copies as well is amazing. I love this, and I'm glad that it's going to continue even if the Kickstarter doesn't go through.
Oh, 100%. We've put our heart and souls into this game. Honestly, we have put everything we've learned from tabletop design because we've been on this game for about 1.5 years now. And it's finally, like I said, it's playable. It's been edited. We went through a sensitivity reader, Penny Blake, fantastic sensitivity and editor. We have had alpha readers, but we have put everything we've learned about tabletop design since starting this last April into Neon Shadows. And yeah, we've put our heart and souls into this game, and I'm not just going to let it fall to the wayside because the Kickstarter doesn't go through.
Absolutely. I love that so much. I love that drive. And it makes me just even more excited to see the game as well, since, there is so much work and passion that went behind it. And so what do you think that you're going to take away from this project for any future games that you're going to do?
Oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever been asked that question. Oh my gosh. Definitely the fact that you could take a silly idea and make it into something just fantastical. For sure. Because I think we all have these really silly ideas that we go, oh no, that's too silly. That's too silly.
It's never silly enough.
And it's never silly enough. Exactly. And that's definitely something to take from it. Definitely the idea of this is something we can do. We've made small games, and I'm very proud of all the games we've made. In the Far Reaches and On the Earth Below are 2 of my favorite games that we've created. God, they tell such a story. Love it. But the fact that this is something even bigger and even better just means, you know what, this is something we can do. Kickstarter be damned. This is something we can do. We're a group of ragtag friends who've been friends for a very, very long time and went, you know what? Let's create something together. And lo and behold, we did.
That just makes me so happy to hear. It just warms my heart.
Thank you.
Like, yes, you can do it. And you are, you have quite a few games out, and Neon Shadows looks fantastic and sounds fantastic as well. It makes me very, very, very happy and excited. And so just like congratulations on all of it. Even though the Kickstarter may not go through, you're doing it, and I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Even like I said, the Kickstarter not making it, that's fine. That's fine. It's still going to be released. It's not so much of a cost that I've eaten that we can't complete it. A lot of our art is in-house. So much of our art is in-house. Fatality and Fluffy do an amazing job. God, they work their asses off for me.
Perfect. Amazing.
They really do. I don't even have to ask. I just go, hey, this would be really cute, and bam, bam, I've got it.
Oh, they're just so excited.
They're phenomenal individuals. Grimm and Mimi are fantastic. Grimm also being one of the heads of Neon Shadows with the dice system. It really shows that we all have our individual strengths, and we can all bring it together. We can all play to them and have a good time while doing it.
Yes. Absolutely. That's the best thing. Like, whatever you're going to pursue in life, you better have a great time doing it. Like, have a blast. Get into those nerdy things and just like absolutely relish in it.
Yep. Just do it scared. Because I tell you what, we were scared when we created Fuck Fairy Godmothers and put it into the Caltrop jam. We made that game in less than 48 hours.
Oh, that's so crazy.
We were terrified. And I still get butterflies in my stomach every time I release something new.
That's amazing. And I mean, that's just what, that's the thing with like indie creators especially, is the fact that like, because it's always like a big thing every time that you release something, even if it's small, it's always new. You're releasing it out to the world, to people who are going to see it and consume it. And the best part is when you hear good things. And like that makes your absolute goddamn day.
When you came on and you're like, yeah, I've looked at It's Hard Being a Magical Girl and I can't wait to play it. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, I get to hear this live. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. No, I actually totally forgot that was a game I got from you. And so when I was looking at it this morning, I just wanted Magical Girls. And so it was so funny when I looked in, I saw Lost Guide Games. I'm like, oh wait, I'm talking to Squidsy today.
Yep, that's us. And it was so much fun. That's our latest one. That's actually, if you look at our catalog, that's our latest one. It was absolute blast.
Oh, I bet. I'm so freaking excited. Especially like the whole, like, you do basically the whole game's over the 7 days and seeing if you get basically revealed. I love it. It's such a fun concept and it makes me want to play so bad. I've been joking about starting a actual play podcast, and maybe the first thing will just be playing every single Magical Girl game we can find, because I'm just on a Magical Girl game.
That would be phenomenal, because Magical Girl is a vibe. It is not a gender. It is a vibe.
Exactly. It's an aesthetic. It's a vibe. It's a way of life.
Exactly.
It's so good. I love this so much. This is just making me really, really excited. So I guess we're getting probably pretty close to the end soon, but there's a few more questions that I have to ask. And so I kind of want to ask about is there any way that a combative situation can happen in Neon Shadows?
So you would use your cards. It's basically, like I said, a game of war. Instead of rolling dice, in the Wizards game, you roll dice to see if you hit. While there is no HP, there is no you take damage doing this, there is no any of that. It is up to the players. But if you and I were in a combat situation, and I was like, you know what? let's put our cards down and we both play at clubs and you get the higher clubs. You go, well, this is how I'm going to approach this hit.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do it based on like the scale. Like if I play a 3 of clubs and you play a king of clubs, clearly that's a fairly large difference. I mean, you could even play it off of that, you know? And then I go, oh, okay, yeah, you would hit me. This is where the injury would be. This is what the injury would look like. This is what I'm doing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it would be more narrative combat than it would be HP combat.
I love that. I love that too. It's almost like theoretical combat a little bit. It's combat
Kind of.
without the crunch.
Pretty much.
I love it. Because, I mean, like, yeah, combat can be fun in games, but sometimes it can just drag. If you can just describe it like a movie and say what happens and how you react and just work off of each other, that's so fun.
Yep.
I'm obsessed. Actually, I had a question that I remembered that I wanted to ask earlier. So this may be a little out of place, but I need to know, are aces high or low in this game?
High.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Ace is high card.
All right, perfect. I need to know because it depends on the game. You never know where aces stand. All right, perfect. And so, oh, man, I love that. And I love even the idea of like the difference between the cards that you pull out and that being how you can kind of think of damage. Like if it's a really big difference, like one person puts down a 2 and the other person puts down a ace, like that's going to hurt.
Yeah, that's knockout style damage. And I mean, for me, that's how I would narrate it. Because, I mean, to me, that makes sense in my head.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And so it all boils itself down to how the players want to play the games and how they interpret the mechanic system.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And I am curious about this as well, because when I was looking through, I think it might have been the Ash Can, there was something about, this game is supposed to be GM-less. It's just people, collaborating and telling a story. But you mentioned that you're going to write rules for having a GM in the game and for someone to kind of take on that role?
Yes. So that was written in the very first edition of Neon Shadows, which I think is what I sent you, as well as the Ash Can.
I knew it was one of them. I'm like, what?
But we decided to just stick with the lead player role, which is basically a GM who also plays the game. So the best way to describe a lead player role, we're all playing a game, and I take the lead player role. I basically have the narrative control over the game. Of course, you describe what your characters do and how your characters react and such like that. But if we come down to a decision and we're playing cards, you would describe what happens with your decision. But then I might step in with all these NPCs. You don't have to worry about taking on an NPC role. That would be your lead player. Things like that. It's basically a GM who plays the game.
I love that. And that's very similar to stuff that they do in Wanderhome too.
That's what they do in Wanderhome. That's very similar to your Blades in the Dark system. When it comes to how the GM operates.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to a lot, because Belonging Outside Belonging is Blades in the Dark is powered by the apocalypse. Is it's a step down of this was influenced by this and this was influenced by this. But yeah, Belonging Outside Belonging is definitely the no game, no masters. But we did like the lead player aspect, because we did a lot of research on different Belonging Outside Belonging games. Just to see how other people played them, just to see how other people ran them, just to see how other people created them.
Yeah.
One, to make sure that we can make a game that stood out, and two, to just kind of see. Because the only one I had at the time was Wanderhome. Again, a game that Grimm and I went through at 4 a.m. We had big baby tears. We hurt each other's feelings bad. We went through each of the playbooks. We asked each other, like, it was like pick one to ask to your left and pick one to ask to your right. We would ask each other one of each of those, and we had our safe sentence was, the bees are really cute.
Oh my gosh.
which meant it's time to move on. We can get off this topic. It's time to move on. Yeah.
That's crazy. I love that.
And so Wander Home really changed how I viewed tabletop design as well because of how it was structured. Another really good one is it's belonging, outside belonging. Where is it? Because it's a really, really good one. Through the Glass Door? Glass Dream Game.
Last Dream Game?
Mm-hmm. By
Ooh.
Ben K. Rosenblum.
Ooh. What is this about?
That is an excellent one. It is inspired by the Glass Bead game, which I think is a book. You play as academics, students, bureaucrats, and people working together to build a better world and understanding through beauty and games. A lot of the belonging outside the belonging games are building outside the scars of a war or the outside of the like an apocalypse, an earth-shattering situation. And this one, you're students.
Ooh. That's fun.
You play as students who or teachers. So you have like the magistrate, this student. But belonging outside belonging itself leads often to very us against the world kind of games. A marginalized group who's gathered together to build a community.
I love it.
In sharp relief to a larger looming dominant culture, which in Neon Shadows would be your Sun Courts.
That's so cool. And so like doing that research helped you inform how to even structure your own game.
It did, because when you read Belonging Outside Belonging, you read the SRD, it talks about it, and it talks about how to do it, but you're also kind of sitting there scratching your head going, huh, okay, but how?
Yeah. Where do I start?
And so, yeah, I did. I looked at a lot of Belonging Outside Belonging games, and then outside of that, I looked at games that centered around war. That was something Grimm did, was he looked at a lot of games that centered around war and games that came out of the aftermath of war.
That's really interesting. Actually, I'm curious of some war games specifically.
Well, the Wizards game got its start in war games, but
yeah.
a really, really cool one, and he's an awesome creator. Let me pull him up real quick just to make sure. No Name Games.
No Name Games?
No Name Games did one. He actually had a Kickstarter, which unfortunately also did not make it. But it's a miniature war game, and I am not a miniature war game person. But I would 100% play this game. If itch.io decides to load. There we go. Demigod.
Demigod.
It's
Ooh.
epic adventures in Greek mythos.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it's quest inspired by Greek mythology. It's a miniature skirmish game that lets you lead your own band of heroes through the same trials and tribulations on their way to become a full-fledged god.
That's so cool. Oh, wow, I like that a lot.
No Name Games is wonderful. Him and I have talked for quite some time. He was talking to me about his game Dead City, and I straight told him, I go, look, I'm gonna be super honest with you. I know jack about miniatures and war games. You can send me lore, and I will read through lore, and I will tell you what I think about it, but I have never, ever, ever played a miniature game. But everything he writes is every like Dead City is so interesting. Demigod is phenomenal. So those are a couple of skirmish type war games. There's another one that just came out, God Killer.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard of God Killer.
Oh my god, it's a 2-player game, and I am bothering Grimm to play it with me. But it focuses on this community. You're a god killer or you're a god, and that's it. Either you kill the god killer or you kill the god, and it focuses on this city who lives in fear of the god.
Oh, that's really good. I actually just looked it up just to see where it's on and it's called A Holy Punk RPG for one player, the God Killer, and one GM. God.
Yes.
That's insane.
It's written beautifully.
This sounds amazing. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
But we looked at a lot of games like that focuses on the war, that focused on the actual war of it, because we wanted it to be an aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want it to be in the middle of a war. We wanted it to be the aftermath. But there's so many types of war that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
In ours, it was the kingdom, which was your shining city of gold, with your big military and stuff, versus the empire, which was your more cold, you're more stoic, you're too loud kind of people who would rather wait the war out. They were like, we have tons of resources. We are leaders in innovative technology and how we do things. And so we'll just wait them out. They'll starve themselves. And of course, the empire's military didn't like that and broke off and formed their own branch called the oligarchy. And then the people of the kingdom, because the kingdom was using all of its resources to try and take down the empire, were starving. So they started their own faction and did guerrilla warfare in the war, and it completely tore the land apart. And so that's when the theocracy came in with treaties and the teachings of Celeria and went, hey, let's all calm down and love each other, and let's move into this, let's build in this valley that has been untouched and let the land heal. And like I said, people are flawed and not everybody's got good intentions.
That is wild. Yeah, that's so good.
It's 20 years after the war. So if you wanted to play a veteran, if you wanted to play somebody who saw the war, you could. It would still be feasible because it was only 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I like even the research in the war games too helped, like, even just think about the possibilities of outcomes and like just all that info that you need to know beforehand. That's just really, really cool. And making those just informed writing. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, plus our own history in war and stuff like that influence the outcomes of things too.
I love that. That's so very, very interesting. This sounds amazing, and especially if people love lore and to hear about like the stories behind how places come to be. I feel like they would very much enjoy reading this.
Thank you.
I love it so much. And so, I think though we're trying to remember if there's anything that we didn't touch on for this. Because I think we're starting to get close to the end here.
I'm scrolling through. I think we pretty much touched on everything. We touched on playstyles, character building, growth, the system, the world, the fact that you create your own map. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's perfect then. And I think that shows even as well, like we've gotten through everything, and it's a pretty like simple enough system. Like even when it comes to the dice system itself, or well, yeah, the dice system, but
That's what it's called, yeah.
But the card system and the actual mechanics of the game, like those are pretty straightforward and easy, and with it being so much of a storytelling game, like we already got through it all. And that's what it is, What we just said, what we talked about, what Squidsy talked about, that is this game, and that is just amazing. I just find that fascinating.
Thank you.
Would you say that this game is that Neon Shadows is pretty beginner friendly?
I think it depends on your background. If you come from a storyteller background like I do with the forum-based RPs and just collaborative storytelling in general, yes. I do. If you come from a background of playing tabletops such as Fall of Magic or Wanderhome or Counselors and Monsters from Pandion, Banda's Grove from Pandion, things like that.
Banda's Grove is so good.
Andy is fantastic. Andy is one of the sweetest people in the community I've met. But yeah, you play those more story-driven games, Guided by the Sun games, things like that. Yes. If you come from Pathfinder, GURPS, Wizards, any of those crunchier systems, it's definitely harder.
I love the transparency with that.
100%. I'm not going to lie to you and say this game is for everybody, because it's not, and I know it's not, and that's okay. Not every game is for me. Not every game is for you. I couldn't play GURPS. No, thank you. There's no way I could play something like GURPS. And if it's a war and battle heavy Pathfinder, I'm probably not going to play. If it uses a percentage dice, forget it. I'm probably out.
That is so fair.
I'm not the math person.
Yeah,
but if
and
it's
I love
story
that.
based, I've got you. I'm in it.
Absolutely. And I just think that's something people always need to remember. Not every game's going to be for you.
No.
And that's okay if a game's not. Let's say you were excited about Wander Home and you played it and it wasn't for you. That's okay. It's okay not to go. It's okay not to play these games and have it be easy for you as well. Maybe you do want to explore one of these games and it's something you really want to get good at. You can also just play it more and you can learn how to adapt to that style if you've been playing war games all your life, but you want to play these really cozy narrative storytelling games. I love that you can at least give it a shot. You can do it. And it's not going to be easy, but these games are meant to be fun, and as long as that's fun for you and you're learning, that's amazing.
Exactly. And the Ash Can will continue to stay up and will continue to be for free, because there are people who have no idea how to play these games. There are people who are like, I just want to kind of dip my toe in it and see if I like it. I told No Name Games, I was like, hell yeah, I will 100% check out Demigod and attempt to play it.
Yeah.
Because it's so fascinating to me. The idea of being able to go through the Greek hero path. Yeah, I want to be a Greek god. Let's go.
At least let's try it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the Ash Can will always be up. And on top of that, if anybody wants to try Neon Shadows and is unsure of it, shoot me a DM, whether it be on Blue Sky or Mastodon or Twitter for however long that's going to be up. Coffee, doesn't matter. Shoot me a DM. I will rip your heart out with Neon Shadows. I will 100% teach you how to play it and then proceed to rip your heart out.
Perfect. And I mean, the best part is, as well, as you have an actual play too. So even if you want to see examples of how it's played to see if it's something you would like, you can do that as well.
From world building and character development, we start at ground level. There is, yes, we had our characters already made because we already knew what we wanted to play and who we wanted to play and how we wanted to play it. But we don't skip that. We go from, because the first thing that's in the book, and this came from advice from Penny, and it was the best advice ever. Put the world building, because the world is so important, put the world building before the character development. So the first thing we do is world building.
Amazing. I love it. Yes.
And then we jump into character development. Like I said, yes, we had an idea, and yes, a couple of us already had characters built out. However, none of that is skipped.
Yeah.
It's all still there. Here's what you do next. You just follow the list. So let's all follow this list together and follow the prompts together.
And you just get to see that played out. And that's something that I think I'd love to see in more actual plays in general, is that world building. And, that session 0 of setting the scene, because I always find it so fascinating. They're always my favorite sessions to do for any kind of game, whether it be a campaign or a one-shot. I love doing those session 0s where it's like, all right, let's build this world. I love it. Yes, world is so important and just makes me so very excited. And I think, though, we are getting to the end here. And so I have one final question, and then we will kind of end it.
Sure.
But I would like to ask, with everything that you've been doing with Neon Shadows, what makes you the most excited about this game?
I'm honestly with you on the world building. I'm so 100% with you on the world building. When we did that, that was the most exciting part for me. Because I also love building a world. Anything I did I tried to follow the books for the dragon game, and it never resonated with me. I never did it quite right. I always twisted things up or made shit up along the way.
Mhm.
I am huge into homebrew. I'm huge into world building. I'm huge into here. Let me give you a general setting, an idea of what is happening, and go play in it. Go. Be free.
Mhm.
Goodbye. And so the fact that it's a collaborative style world building is phenomenal. And yes, there are suggestions here from the rumors and the beliefs to the landmarks to the how the people are, but there is always the understanding. Please, if you have a story you want to tell, if you have an idea that you want to use, throw it in there. The rumors about cannibals in the sun courts and vampires in the moonlights that the community came up with, none of that is in the actual book. None of that is in the actual Neon Shadows book.
Mhm.
I even posted up the examples that we had, the list that we had, and they went, nah. Fine. That is beautiful. That is perfect.
Do your own thing. Just take it and make the game your own.
Yep. We actually talked about releasing a jam. Because
Ooh.
I'm with you on the session zeros and the world building. I love listening to people world build. I love listening to people build a story.
It's so
And so
much
we
fun.
talked about doing a jam, and while you can't really, well, yes, there are the 9 Enneagram types, and you can use all kinds of stuff and make your own playbooks, and that's perfectly fine. I want to see the playable journals people come up with. So we talked about doing a playable journal jam,
That
where
would be so fun.
we release the how to create a playable journal, what's included in a playable journal, and here is a bare bones outline structure that you just fill the blanks in on creating a playable journal and come release it. Let me see what you build. I want to see it.
Yes. Yes. I hope that you do that. And if you do, I hope that you tell me so I can talk about it.
Oh, 100%.
And tell other people, because that would be amazing. That would be such a fun jam to participate in. And that's even something I haven't dabbled into game design or anything, but that's something I would totally try.
And I would encourage anybody to. It wouldn't be a ranked jam. It wouldn't be, you literally could not lose this jam.
Mhm.
There'd be no loss.
It would just be for fun.
It would just be for fun because I love seeing what people create.
I adore that. And I think that is a fantastic place to end this episode off with. I just love to see people create. And I think that's the thing that I get behind this game is, this was a whole creative endeavor for you, but you want to see other people take it and make it their own and see those creations. I love it so much.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think though we are at the end here. So if Squidsy, if you would like to tell everyone where they can find you and where they can find Neon Shadows and your other games, I think this episode will probably be releasing in late to mid September. Just if that changes anything that you would say.
Beautiful. First off, thank you so much. This was so much fun. I enjoy talking about the games we make. I enjoy talking about Neon Shadows. I enjoy hearing people get excited about what we're creating. Because at the end of the day, that's what's important to me.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you for coming on and talking about it. I was so happy when you said yes. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And as for where you could find us, all of our games, okay, I admit, yes, we have a drive-through. Yes, our games are up there. Do I advertise it? No. Am I bad about it? Absolutely. Are all of our games up there? Absolutely not. No, they are not. The best place to find our games are lostguide.itch.io, where you can find our whole catalog of games. If you are also a person that loves to create and show what you're creating, check out the Inkspill Adventures and Inkspill Story games. That was a hell of a creation. Basically, you spill a thing of ink and create out of the ink before it dries up and build a story.
I love that.
And there's even a hashtag to post pictures, show us what you're creating. I would love to see the maps that people are creating with Inkspill Adventures. So that is where you can find all our games. As for me, you could find me over on my Twitch. Corrosive Squid, as well as Twitter. I will be there until it decides to no longer want me there. I will be on Twitter at Corrosive Squid or at Lost Guide Games. You can also find me on Mastodon and Blue Sky with Lost Guide Games, or if you're brave enough, Tumblr. Corrosive Squid is my Tumblr. I've had it for ages, and I just got back into it.
Amazing.
So those are the best places you can find us. We are also going to be getting our coffee up off the ground a little bit better this September. Lost Guide Games. Trauma Bond Studios is our coffee. So you can find us at Trauma Bond Studios with our coffee. We're definitely going to be getting things up off the ground there, and I'll actually post after Neon Shadows releases. I'll be posting hey, you want to learn to play Neon Shadows? Come on.
Amazing.
Come sign up with my coffee and let's go. I will teach you how to play Neon Shadows.
That's amazing. I love it.
So yeah, that about sums it up, I think.
Yeah, perfect. No, that is amazing. And, make sure to go support all these things because so many fun stuff happening and to be coming up soon, which is exciting. But yeah, please everyone go follow Squidsy and go check out all of her games and, the team's games with, studio name.
Lost Guide Games.
Thank you. I was like, wait, I know what it is. Lost Guide Games.
All good.
Make sure to go check out Lost Guide Games and all of the awesome games that they have, especially the It's Hard to Be Magical Girl because it's really, really adorable and you get to play a magical girl. And it's awesome. But yeah, please go make sure to check all of that out. And I think we are at the end here. So one last thank you to Squidsy and thank you everyone who listened to this episode. This is going to be the end. Yeah. Bye. Question mark?
Bye.
Bye. All right. Craig.